4 Black women and girls are killed every day. You actually heard me right there. I said every day. This is obviously a crisis, but oftentimes it doesn't get the attention it deserves.
To me, December 3rd is the day that the city sent a very loud and clear message to women that they don't care.
Every 5.5 hours, a Black woman or girl is killed, typically by a Black man. This is the story of Sylvia Matthews.
For over 20 years, Sylvia Matthews lived in this house on Elmira Street in Southwest D.C. It's where she died last week, police say because of a man who kept coming into her life. In 1998, while working at a local prison, Sylvia Matthews met inmate Michael Garrett, according to court filings. Once Garrett was released that year, he assaulted Matthews. Garrett was sentenced to prison for 24 years. This March, a federal judge released Garrett 2 years early due to COVID outbreaks at D.C. jail. D.C. police arrested Garrett October 7th, charging him with threatening Matthews at her front door. Prosecutors declined to move on the case. October 22nd, police say Garrett beat Matthews outside her home. Prosecutors suspended prosecution. No reason was given. I'm going to walk you through the timeline of the police reports for Friday, December 3rd. Now, it was 7:30 that morning. Now, police say that Sylvia Matthews called and said Michael Garrett was breaking into her car and trying to break into her house. Police came, didn't spot him. Later on, right around 8:44 that morning, police say that Sylvia Matthews called again and said, well, I spotted him. He's not here right now, but he's on the phone. Police came and actually took Sylvia's phone and said, you got to leave her alone. But sure enough, he just hung up. Now, it was at 11:20 that witnesses say that they heard a person with Garrett's description shouting at her and trying to break in, and actually heard a fight inside. And when police actually came in right around 11:20, they say that actually they found her near lifeless body on the bottom of the basement, and police found Garrett also in that basement, where they arrested him. Liz Odongo is with DC Coalition Against Domestic Violence.
Clearly, Mr. Garrett had something about Miss Matthews that he fixated on. And when someone does that, it's really hard to understand the how and the why and what to do about it, because it's irrational.
Matthews' house still shows the camera system she had outside, trying to protect her from the threat police say kept coming and coming and coming, not stopping until that threat was inside her home. Sylvia Matthews lived on 55 Elmira Street, Southwest D.C. for 33 years. Today, her bishop at St. Stephen's Baptist Church announced Matthews didn't live there anymore. Her family buried her at Fort Lincoln Cemetery. D.C. police say they found Matthews' beaten, dragged body at the bottom of her basement stairs December 3rd. The U.S. Attorney's Office says that Matthews called D.C. police 4 times from October to December, saying that Michael Garrett, seen here in his probation photo, was stalking and threatening to kill her. Garrett was released from prison March 2021 on COVID early release, serving a sentence for breaking into Matthews' same Southwest D.C. house in 1998. This was a celebration of life, a 71-year life whose service brought out hundreds, many of her co-workers at D.C. government's insurance division.
I wish I was speaking at her retirement party instead of her funeral. Sylvia was one of those people who always made people feel welcomed, cared about. She was always willing to step up and help people in need.
Sylvia's niece Sheila spoke for the family, who called Sylvia by her middle name, Diane.
We will always be a family in this life and the next. I love you, Aunt Diane, always and forever, and it is my absolute honor to be your niece. Please give Daddy and Nana a big, huge hug for me.
WUSA 9 has asked repeated questions to law enforcement about their handling of Matthews' repeated calls that Garrett was stalking her before police arrested Garrett for allegedly murdering Matthews. D.C. police and the U.S. Attorney's Office declined further comment, saying it was under investigation. Until then, Matthews' friends and family, used to visiting her in the same house for 3 decades, will have to visit her here. Or as her bishop told mourning family members, Sylvia Diane Matthews has gone home. Now, we were in court as Garrett's public defender tried to explain why Garrett was found in the basement right next to Matthews' body, and their explanation was that he was there simply because he found the body and was trying to help. Now, a judge did not agree with that and said that Garrett would not be out on bond, and so he's now still in jail facing charges of second-degree murder.
And we remember your original story and telling us how fearful she was of this man. He'd gotten out of prison and just kept continuing to come after her. It's absolutely terrifying. Right. Family has been telling me that it was a fear that lasted for months and that they didn't know that he was being let out of prison. So in 1996, while Sylvia was an employee at the jail housing DC inmates, they met. And the connection between the two of them afterwards, whenever Michael Garrett got out of prison, was at least such that court documents said that they were boyfriend and girlfriend. And in November 1998, the two of them were in a car together, according to court documents, and a witness watched as Michael Garrett attacked Sylvia Matthews with a hammer in the face, and she was severely injured, and Garrett was charged with assault in Prince George's County, Maryland. And it wasn't until a few months later in 1999, while that trial was ongoing, while that case was still out, that police say that Matthews was at her home in Southwest Washington, shared with her mother, and Michael Garrett broke into the house by trying to pry open a door, and Sylvia Matthews had just enough time to run next door and call 911. And police found Michael Garrett, according to court documents, in that basement, hiding in a closet in the basement with a crack pipe. And so he was arrested, and they sentenced him to 24 years, at least 24 years prison. And he wasn't supposed to be getting out until 2023. There's actually some debate about that, because originally the parole board computed that his sentences were to be served consecutively, which meant that he was not supposed to be getting out of prison until 2035.
When I initially read about this story, I was puzzled. I couldn't figure out why this man was so obsessed. It wasn't until I did some digging that I found an audio recording in an article stating they met while Sylvia was a counselor at a prison in which Michael was an inmate. When Michael was released, they started a romantic relationship. However, after a couple years, the relationship turned violent. Michael was sentenced to 24 years in prison in 1999 for abusing Sylvia and breaking into her house. He was supposed to be in jail until 2023 or 2035. However, due to COVID, he was granted an early release. Once free, he began stalking Sylvia. This time around, he succeeded in breaking into her house and ultimately killing her. According to this article, there were signs of a sexual assault. While some questions of mine were answered, I still have more. Why did she stay at the same house as last time? Why did she keep the same number? Why not get a gun or a dog? In this article, it stated an MPD general order states a police officer must try to connect domestic violence survivors with counselors at the nonprofit organization DC Safe, who asks questions to provide relocation options. When asked if Matthews could have still been alive if a DC Safe counselor had been able to ask those questions, Natalia with DC Safe responded, "I think it's possible. It was a little bit of the straw that broke the camel's back for me. We had been seeing an increase in homicides and survivors that we were actively dealing with. There was something about the specifics of her case that just lit a fire under me. Sylvia should still be alive. However, the justice system failed her. I hope the family sues, and if DC doesn't have the death penalty, I hope Michael Garrett spends the rest of his life in prison. Rest in peace, Sylvia Matthews."